So first of all, warm welcome also to Switzerland from my side. I'm happy to give you a bit of an introduction of get things going in the UTES topic by giving you a short overview for understanding Switzerland in terms of policies, regulations, and strategies. I would like to start with policy we have in place when it comes to thermal energy storage. And there we have introduced since this year a risk guarantee. That's not just for thermal energy storage, that also includes thermal network, where we have insured a few risks. I'm not going to run you through the entire busy slide, but I would like to just now focus on the green trail, which really considers it's really the one relevant for UTES. And you can always go back and read up the other stuff that has been covered by that risk guarantee. So the green tree kind of rearranged on this one here. What we can ensure, the insured risks that we have is the reduction of the storage efficiency, 15% lower than previously expected and set in the contract. What is insured? The costs are 50% of mitigation measures in order to kind of restore that efficiency you need for your business case. And if that is not possible, 50% of the non-amortizable costs of your project. The limitation is there's a cap of 5 million per project, and the guarantee endures for 15 years max. And now there's a few conditions in order to be able to apply for this risk guarantee. And I'm not going to read all of them, but I would like to point out the most relevant ones from my point of view. It's going to be long-term storage, so it's a max of 2 loading unloading cycles per year, and the discovery risk of finding that suitable reservoir for UTES is not included in that. So it's going to be a working, functioning UTES that you might have getting issues in the operations of it, not the discovery part of it. So you also need to show that you've done the prospection and simulation homework. Of course, the entire thing is also it's targeted at reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So you shouldn't store heat from fossil fuel combustion, of course. Next, I would like to show a bit what happened on the regulation space, and there we have an interesting development as of lately. Because until now, the groundwater protection regulation was really too prescriptive and rigid and very limiting for energy utilization. We had this rule that you shouldn't change groundwater temperatures more than 3 degrees 100 meters away from your injection point, and that did not differentiate between deep saline aquifers or shallow aquifers. So it's really just project by project by project, and really didn't look at the entire situation. So we were mandated by Parliament to revise that groundwater regulation, and it's been a really good collaboration with the Environmental Office of Environment, Environmental Office of Energy, Industry, and also some drinking water agencies. And so what we now have in place, we could remove, if you see groundwater warmer than 20 degrees, we could kind of exempt that entirely from this rule, so that now the regulator has to look at this case by case. So we switched from a prescriptive to a risk-based regulation for the deeper groundwaters, and for the shallow groundwaters, we increased the maximum allowable temperature span if you cool down the groundwater, because in general we have a problem with too hot groundwater in the urban island effects and the climate warming. And also, very important, we introduced the possibility for the cantonal regulator to actually grant exceptions from this strict rule. And also, if it's a big project, if it's an important project, and they cannot do with the fixed temperature span rule, they can give them an exception from that and widen their range, which they did not have this flexibility so far. So there's a bit of transition from this prescriptive to this risk-based regulation. This is not yet in in force. It's in administrative consultation. I'm really curious to see what the feedback will be also once it reaches public consultation. Then this was policies and regulations, and I would like to talk about strategy. Of course, the big strategy where UTES is kind of embedded in this energy and climate strategy, and to really come to grab its two goals: secure and economic supply of renewable energy and net zero emissions by 2050. These are the two big targets. So the question is, what are the roles that energy storage can play in that, in this entire context? And we've really seen that energy storage, and I'm specifically saying energy storage and not heat storage, has entered the political arena. We've seen a number of numerous postulates in Parliament, in cantonal and also national Parliament, on the topics of power, of heat, of power to X. And in answering all those postulates, we realized that we really need to kind of integrate all of that. We need a really holistic, integrated approach, and not just, ask something for heat and then ask something for power, but to really look at the storage topic as a whole. And that concerns power, heat molecules, but also the various aspects. It's not sufficient to develop something just for stability. You look at it all: stability, resilience, the seasonal balancing, and also the self-sufficient aspect. So what that turned into was that we now were mandated with developing energy storage roundtables and come up with an action plan for power, heat, and molecule storage. And this shall involve industry, administration, and academia and NGOs. The goal is really to come up with a joint action plan that is being carried by all the involved players, not just something top-down, but something developed and owned by all the involved parties. The goal is to come out with an action plan in December 26. And it will have three main topics that is being worked on. One is the technical and regulatory aspects, the energy and spatial planning aspects, the social economic aspects. And all these three aspects will come up with actionable items that hopefully will start to embark on. So what this really does, until now we've been really more in an opportunistic mindset. We started with some trailblazing early mover projects from industry, and kind of makeshift, we kind of adopted, and there was an opportunity with the regulation. We fiddled around a bit with policies, but now hopefully with this roundtable and action plan, we managed to really synthesize that into an entire holistic storage strategy. And out of that, hopefully will come out a new set of regulatory and policy instruments that really will make sense, and that we have this integrated approach. So this is a bit my hope for the future, that we manage to really integrate all this various activity that we see today into something that really makes sense from a bigger point of view. But that's the future. And that was all I had so far. So really curious to see what else is happening.